Good afternoon and welcome to Horeca Magazine's fourth webinar. Today we're discussing employment in the hospitality industry. I couldn't find a total number of persons employed in the industry, but according to my calculations, there are some 20,000 in F&B, plus several thousand more in the accommodation sector. There's a lot of people who are dependent for their livelihoods and other people who are walking into their establishments, be they a hotel, restaurant, or snack bar. Since March, as we all know, our world has been turned upside down. Many have lost their jobs, been furloughed, or have had to take pay cuts. Now, with the onset of winter, we really have no idea what's in store. Our tourism industry is dependent on foreign arrivals. Yet with lockdowns being announced in several countries elsewhere in Europe, are we likely to see a return to what happened between April and June, when we had zero tourists? What happens beyond these islands impacts us on a national and personal level. Bottom line is, will we see more unemployment in hospitality? Will employees abandon this industry for jobs in other industries? Hopefully, it's not all doom and gloom. To shed light and perk up our hopes on the subject of employment in the hospitality sector, we have four experts in the field who will address the subject. I'd like to welcome Marvic Mifsud Taylor, who is Chief Human Resource Officer of the Ozo Group. For those who may not be familiar with the Ozo Group, this long-established company provides fully trained personnel for the hospitality industry and other sectors as well. Marvic has been in the HR industry for a number of years and is currently reading a master's degree in human resources. Along with the company's CEO, she sees her job as providing leadership and supporting Ozo's employees through coaching and mentoring. Our next panelist is an alumnus of the school he is now CEO of. Pierre Fenech studied at the Institute of Tourism Studies and graduated with a diploma in hospitality management. He later graduated from the University of Malta with a BCom in tourism and then achieved an executive in MBA. Over the years, he's held different managerial posts in the tourism and hospitality sectors and sat on the boards of several companies. Besides being CEO of ITS, Pierre is also the Chief Executive of the Mediterranean Conference Center. Our third panelist today is Marijana Fedoroff McDonald. She's Cluster Human Resources Manager for Intercontinental Malta and Holiday Inn Express Malta, and manages the Human Resources Department. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree and a Master's of Arts and Liberal Studies from the Harvard's Extension School. Marijana started her HR career as Human Resource Manager for the Charles Hotel in Boston. Her areas of expertise include workforce planning, policy and procedure development, HR consulting, and management of full employee life cycle needs. Roberto Cristiano, meanwhile, has been in HR for more than 20 years, starting in the industrial relations field, which gave him the opportunity in developing skills in negotiations and conflict resolution. He further developed his development management skills focused on strategic HR. Roberto worked in both manufacturing sector and service sectors. His last management position was at Air Malta as Chief Officer, People and Performance. Roberto has developed his consultancy company providing services in the different sectors, namely aviation, gaming, hospitality, financial, besides other services. He's also managing partner and director at Tailwag Recruitment. We also have two pre-recorded video messages, one from Parliamentary Secretary for Citizenship and Communities, Alex Muscat, and one from Anton Sevasta, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Identity Malta. To set the scene, so to speak, I'd like to play Mr. Muscat's message first.
I am pleased to be addressing this webinar, this Horeca initiative, and to be able to share my views on the subject. We understand these are very challenging times for the tourism and hospitality sector as a whole. We obviously all understand how important is this economic sector, not merely for its own sake, but also for the spillovers, positive economic spillovers on other economic trades. Given the importance of this sector, we have taken the political decision to assist this sector in an unprecedented way. That is why we are giving wage supplement, which are in excess of the national minimum wage, to all the workers impacted in these sectors. It is important to safeguard these jobs, hundreds and thousands of jobs, and we will keep on providing this supplement for sure until the end of March of 2021. By giving this assistance, we are not only guaranteeing thousands of jobs remain in place, but also providing the opportunity for all the players in the sector to retain their workers and be in a position to bounce back once we move out of the situation. Like in many other industries, we know how important good labor supply is for this market. Identity Malta is a very important player in assisting all our businesses to secure good labor supply for their businesses. That is why we at Identity Malta have taken the strategic decision to make it even easier for employees to obtain work and residence permit for their workers. We have made it both easier to obtain new single permits for workers and also for renewals. We have done this by going completely online. We have taken the decision in March of this year to provide a new online platform so as to assist our businesses. These new platforms have made it easier and even less bureaucratic to obtain the required permits for the workers. On the other hand, all those businesses who had already approvals in principle for their workers but who were not able to travel to Malta, we have decided to give an extension of 9 months at no cost to keep on assisting this important sector. We have given the opportunity to all those employees who were made redundant during COVID to be able to reapply for a new single permit with other businesses and with other jobs. Another important decision which we took was the vouchers. As you know, the vouchers have helped and have assisted all our businesses, especially by promoting internal consumption via internal tourism. We have taken the decision to issue a fresh round of vouchers for 2021. As was announced during the budget speech, we will be issuing a new set of vouchers during the following year to keep on assisting all businesses in this sector. On a different note, and more importantly, we have teamed up with major European countries to be in a position to have the vaccine against COVID once this is on the market. In fact, all the indications are that as early as January of next year, there will be the COVID vaccine on the market. This will surely be a game changer for not only this industry, but also for the Maltese economy and for the European economy at large. So yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We are committed as a government to keep on working with the industry stakeholders to make sure that we achieve the same great results we had in 2019.
And now I'd like to turn to Pierre Fenech. Pierre, tourism was decimated this year because of the pandemic, and now the hospitality industry is on a cliff edge. Yet the intake for academic year 2021 was the highest to date in ITS's history, I understand. Given the uncertainty the industry faces, how do you explain this increase in the number of students, and what courses are most in demand?
So thank you for inviting me. We believe that the situation is a temporary one. We just heard the Honourable Minister mentioning that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And in fact, our recruitment campaign this year, we were focusing our tagline on getting out of this stronger and looking for a brighter future. I think the increase is not a one-off, because we have been building on previous campaigns that we did in the last 5 years to increase the number of students that come to study in our institute. The demand, obviously, from the industry is big. I'm talking pre-COVID, basically from 2015, a decision was taken because before we used to have a lot of students coming in and unfortunately dropping after the first 3 months. And also the level of outcome was, we were receiving feedback from the industry about the level of outcome as well. In 2015, we increased the O levels needed to enter into ITS, and a lot of people told us, why are you increasing these entry requirements? This will result in a decrease in number of students. But we always thought that the students who enroll to ITS should not be the students that don't have anywhere where to go and choose ITS to come to study. But we wanted the students to choose this industry because the industry offers great careers, not only a job. So this was the time as well where we embarked on the campaign I mentioned before. And also we emphasized the fact that ITS is not only a culinary institute, because most people think that ITS is a culinary institute, and it's not. We offer a wide range of courses other than culinary arts. We also started offering courses at higher levels, at level 6 and 7, so degrees and master's degrees, as they are more commonly known. Apart from that, we also offered a wider range of courses because we think that ITS should venture into other areas. This year, we launched 2 innovative courses, mainly in climate friendly level and diving safety management, which are 2 important roles in our sector. And I must say they are the first in the world, first of their sort in the world. Apart from the fact that we are collaborating with top-rated institutions from around the world. So, yes, I think that although the industry is facing such uncertainty, but I think that all the work we did in the last years and the campaigns that we have embarked on are resulting in students having more confidence in coming to study with us. And they are seeing a future, notwithstanding the situation with COVID, which again, I reiterate, it's a short-term situation. You asked me about what type of courses are mostly in demand. Yes, culinary arts obviously tops the list. So we still have 30% of our students who actually choose the culinary courses. But it's nice to see that we have another five sectors which mainly see 10% of this 10% each, and these are in management and tour guiding, which it's an area where we had a lot of shortage in the last years. Travel and tourism, the foundation courses, also, which are very important for us, especially at the lower levels, and master's degrees. Then the rest is taken between climate friendly travel, as I said, events, service, and booze division.
Okay, thank you. Roberto, I said, on the one hand, we just heard about the upsurge in students at ITS, who presumably will want careers in the industry eventually. On the other, do you think employees already in the hospitality sector have sought alternative employment in other sectors, given the devastating impact COVID has had on hospitality?
It is understandable that in times like these, where you have the level of uncertainty to its maximum level at the moment, it is understandable that people would look at possible better opportunities. Having said that, we have to admit also that other sectors have had a negative impact as well in their business. So this, whilst we have been seeing the tourism industry and the hospitality industry growing throughout the years, constantly growing, other industries, for example, the manufacturing, they have also been facing difficulties in this period as well. Namely, even due to global consumer expenditure. When you have a reduction in the consumer expenditure, automatically that is resulting in a cut in the order books, resulting also that we had companies here in Malta Either they've went on reduced hours or else also on or 4 or 3 day week operation. So the effect has been throughout the industries. Not only you had the industries that obviously they had been impacted in a different way than others. Having said that, it's not as if it's just one industry. It's not like when we had the post 9/11, where the tourism sector at that time suffered a bit. It's a completely different scenario, but different sectors are suffering. We have seen also a change in the number of people working within the accommodation and the food and beverage. From statistics I've managed to obtain, between March this year and August this year, we've lost 1,000 jobs in these sectors. So the indication is that we've lost jobs there. Obviously, there were people who moved into other sectors, but we have to keep in mind as well that people in this sector, they are trained for this sector. So shifting to other industries isn't just as easy as it can be said, or else people moving from other industries into the hospitality sector isn't as easy as one would imagine. So that in itself requires the skills also to move from one industry to other. With also what the minister had mentioned, COVID supplement, rate supplement, definitely that has helped. It's all also a matter how long it's going to this situation prevail. That is, we know that the COVID supplement will be there until end of March, and then if required, the government is also considering to extend it if needs be. And having said that, people working on reduced hours, working on an income of 800 euros a month, they have their own commitment. So psychologically, eventually people will start thinking, should I move or should I stay? And that comes the risk on the industry itself. So having people shifting into other industries would mean that we will be facing skills drain or brain drain. And it could be that people would move back into the industry once it starts moving back in. Having said that, the projections in having the industry back to what it was in 2019 is being seen like it will eventually come to the same numbers in 2024, 2025. So this means that we're talking about a period of 3 to 4 years until we start getting back to what we were prior to COVID. So changes could be there in the labor market, movements could happen. Having said that, it's the right time to however, look at the possibility of upskilling of our workers at these times.
Thank you. Marijana, you're the Cluster Human Resources Manager for Intercontinental and Holiday Inn Express, and you manage a Human Resources Department. Human Resources Department, I understand, but what exactly is a Cluster Human Resource Manager? And secondly, you're also responsible, and I quote, for ensuring compliance with corporate and hotel policies and procedures and local and government regulations relating to personnel training. My question is, how do you go about ensuring compliance of corporate policies and personnel training? And in difficult times like now, how strong are your compliance and training?
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on this webinar. I'm really proud to be here today. With regards to your first question, cluster really means supporting more than one property. So in my case, as an HR function, I support both Intercontinental Malta and the Holiday Inn Express. Although they're adjacent to each other, I'm within walking distance, I'm able to support them in different aspects when it comes to HR. And my counterparts in other hotels usually have to travel to see their other properties. But in my case, I'm lucky enough to have 2 adjacent properties to each other. So I support 2 properties, my title. To your second question with regards to my role, I'm able to do this as part of a managed IHG property. Intercontinental Hotels Group has a very strong intranet portal available to all the employees, specifically for the management team. When you sign in, you can see news, updates, anything related to corporate compliance, and it allows you to share this information with the rest of the team. It also manages the training portal for all the employees. So anyone coming into IHG within the first 90 days have to complete a set of courses related to their employment. And this is managed through a system, through my learning, which I have visibility on, and I'm able to assign learning classes for every individual who comes on board, and I will be able to track their progress. So everything is managed through this intranet.
Okay. Pierre, over the last decade or so, we've seen a boom in the hospitality industry. One of the side effects of this has been the explosion in using expatriate staff. And I don't mean just in managerial positions, but in the lower ranks as well. Some critics, in fact, claim that this worked against an authentic Malta experience, because some of these expats are not familiar with, say, some local foods they serve or places of interest on the island and cannot answer questions from guests. What's your take on this?
So, expats are here, we're here, and will be here. So we cannot sustain the tourism industry without the need for experts. So it's wishful thinking. So we need the important thing is that we need to make sure that we train them in a way that they will offer closer to a Maltese style of service that we're used to. When you say, let me go back a bit. I remember 25, 30 years ago when I enrolled as a student at ITS. At the time, the industry was mainly run by foreigners and the frontliners were Maltese. Now it's the other way around. The industry is mainly managed by Maltese and the frontliners are foreigners. This phenomenon is not only in Malta, it's being experienced all across Europe. So it's not a phenomenon that we are experiencing only here. We, over the past, I think 3 years, we have reached out to people in the industry and offered training opportunity to tackle these issues that you just rightly mentioned. And unfortunately, I must say that we did not see too much enthusiasm from the industry to actually send their foreign employees to such training. I'm not generalizing because we have companies that actually reverted to that, to sending their employees for training. But I heard a lot of times in different fora that, for example, why should I send these employees to train? If I train them, the probability is that they will leave and they go to my competitor. Or if I train them and after 4 to 6 months they can go back to their country. We must understand that these are the frontliners. These are the people who serve the breakfast, service the rooms, serve you in the front of house. So it's very important that we train. When we keep on training, it's extremely important.
Okay, thanks. Still on the subject of expatriate personnel, Marvic, and I've got several parts, or rather several questions I'd like to direct to you. Talking to hotel managers, one of their recurring beefs is that the authorities take too long in approving work permits for non-EU nationals. One, is this still the case, or are we no longer seeing application for permits now that the industry is going through this COVID phase? And has demand changed for job types since the start of the pandemic? And then finally, one of our listeners emailed me this morning asking this question, and I quote, "Unfortunately, we do have foreign workers that are not able to speak basic English to communicate with customers and staff. Should we oblige individuals applying for a job permit to enroll in an English language course?"
So, good afternoon to all. Let's start with the first questions with regards to the EU nationals. Yes, it is still the case. We still have problems when it comes to applications with Identity Malta, being both on new applications and sometimes even on renewals, especially when it comes to promotions. They do take time, but there is no real control about it due to the fact that there is no timeline. Sometimes you actually do the renewal of one employee, and his ID card or her ID card, you will be receiving it with a couple of days, and sometimes it takes even months. There is no actual guidance. With regards to if we are seeing other applications, yes, as well, even though at the moment, due to the COVID, it's quite standstill. And we can say that we didn't terminate any employees. So we are proud of that. But yes, we still have people that basically before the COVID, we had promised them that we will give them the job, so we can't go back. And the applications are being forwarded to Identity Malta. And we also have people coming up to us telling us that they are looking for a job. They are currently working in Malta, so it's like a change of an employer. With regards to the job types, we do have a couple, but obviously it's not that many. Now, with regards to the English language, as we all know, English is quite international. It's spoken everywhere, worldwide. It is useful. It is very important, especially for us, for our industry, that people who are employed knows how to speak English. And yes, we do have the problem that sometimes they don't know how to talk or how to read the English language. There are courses that sometimes even our employees, we do help them out, and I think it must be a requirement from all the employers that they must know how to at least talk.
At the moment, it's not a requirement that they speak English or have a knowledge of English.
It is not a requirement by Identity Malta, but it can be a requirement from the company. For example, our company, it's a requirement that they have to speak the English language.
Okay.
So for us, it's very important. I cannot send a cleaner working in a hotel and she doesn't understand anything. Because if a client speaks to our cleaner and she asks for certain things, she has to understand or she needs to answer accordingly.
Anton Sevasta is the Chief Executive Officer of Identity Malta, the agency that issues work permits here. And now I'd like to play this video message from him.
I am extremely pleased to join you in this discussion about the future of employment in the hospitality industry. I would like to share my views about this topic, and I'm sure this will be of benefit for all of you. Before the coronavirus outbreak, the Maltese economy was experiencing a boom, and there was also a shortage in labor supply, which meant that most companies, most businesses, most employers had to rely on third country nationals in order to fulfill their needs, and especially in the hospitality industry, where this was a very important scenario for them in order to sustain their businesses. With the Maltese economy expected to bounce back later on next year, and with the tourism and hospitality industry expected to be at the high levels that we had before the coronavirus outbreak in about 2 years, we are gearing up so that the needs and demands of the hospitality industry are met accordingly. Identity Malta is primarily responsible for the issuance of residence permit, including with our stakeholders the work license, which are included in the single permit, and we are trying to facilitate this as much as possible through our new online services. Currently, the number of third country nationals residing in Malta is around 46,000. This number hasn't changed much from 2019. We're at near same levels as 2019 this year. And these third country nationals are fulfilling most of the jobs that employers cannot find Maltese or else European recruits in order to fulfill their needs. In the future revival of the tourism industry and the hospitality industry, Identity Malta will try to facilitate as much as possible by improving and increasing online services, especially those for single work permit, where it relates to employment and residence permits. Identity Malta will continue to improve its services for all industries, but also the hospitality industry. Apart from the online services, we also will have an appointment system, as we are at the moment testing out, and it is practically working much more smoothly than we were before the pandemic. Other improvements are in the process of being developed, and as soon as the hospitality industry and most other industries will be gearing up for the after the pandemic, we will try to obviously have all these facilities open and all these facilities available to employers in all industries and the markets in the local businesses. The digitalization of these services meant that employers for a single permit, employers for new applications for single permit applications, whether they are with change employer, whether they are new applications or still abroad, they have the facility to book online, they have the facility to apply online, and the applicant, they will have the facility to check their application online, and after the approval and after the decision by Identity Malta and the stakeholders, they can be given an appointment in order to take their biometrics at our premises in Mifsud. After that process, after the biometrics are taken, the application is moved on for the final approval, where the card, the residence permit, is issued according to the work or to the purpose that the applicant has applied for during the application. These online services have meant that we have streamlined most of our processes. There are much more to be done. We are working on improving these services, and we're also working on drafting new systems for those other purposes other than work. One important thing is the streamlining of these processes, which enable us to work much better and effectively remove duplication of work in our processes. We are also working with our stakeholders in order even our systems are connected to each other in order that we facilitate more and we streamline more services with our stakeholders. One important service is the Key Employment Initiative, where this is very popular among the hospitality industry. This means that those employees which have a salary of more than 30,000 K, they can benefit from a fast track service which is issued in a few days, and in the next few days we'll also have a dedicated appointment system for these KEI employees. With these improvements, and especially on online services, we hope to redefine the effective need of third country nationals for the hospitality industry, especially in the future, so that practically they are served better, much better than we have been serving them before the pandemic. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. So now resuming, I mean, the consensus is we're going to bounce back in about 3 years if all things work out well. Roberto, in your experience, have recent developments discouraged people from seeking jobs in tourism? And I don't mean simply in the accommodation F&B sector, but generally. And how can employers keep their workforce in these challenging times? Is it just a matter of remuneration, or is there more to it?
Well, I believe that we have to look at it from a perspective that the situation is pretty much critical. I mean, if we had to look at it from a perspective of how people are thinking, I mean, if I'm a worker, my first reaction would be, will I have a job in the coming months? Will I be able to maintain the commitments I have with the reduction in income that I'm having? People, it started off that people didn't want to move within, not even in other sectors. Even as a recruiter, from a recruitment agency perspective, what we've experienced was that people, they sat down, they've put their seatbelt on, and they were embracing themselves and see what's going to happen. By time, we've seen movements coming, also people from other industries moving into the hospitality industry, particularly those in the professional sector. And their people were not arguing that this sector is doomed. I mean, people are realizing that this is a short-term period. It's tough, like in other industries, but it's tougher in this industry. But I believe that people still look at this industry as an opportunity for the future, and they still want to make a career in this industry. From a retention perspective, maintaining our people in the job, it's not just a matter of remuneration. I think it's also a matter of engaging people, being more engaged with people. It's a crucial time that communication is increased with our people. Explaining to our people what the business is going through, even though they are aware, they can see that if we're talking about the accommodation sector, they can see the level of occupancy. Having said that, management, it's important that management communicate with them the plans of the company on a very short term period, what's going to happen. It's also an opportunity, having said that, that at these times we provide training to the employees. It's the right time that during this period we provide training when we have time available in our hands. At the same time, whilst we're receiving the COVID supplement, it's the right opportunity that people are sent back to the training facilities, being on the job or else even on, let's say, class-like training, with the perspective and with the objective of sustaining the level of the skills that we have, but more importantly, upskilling our workforce for better services in the future. I mean, we're all hoping that in the very, very near future, again, it was mentioned March next year, but hopefully things will actually work that way. We'll be seeing the industry going back into what it was in the past. But definitely, we would need to improve on what we've been doing in the past as well, even from a service from a service perspective, and also from the skills perspective of our employees. I think that is crucial. But more than anything else, the element of communicating with people, keeping them engaged, being transparent with them is crucial at these moments.
Thank you. Marijana, last week, the government, via the MTA and Malta Enterprise, launched a program whereby employees eligible for the wage supplement could help with contact tracing services. And I understand the MHRA has endorsed this scheme. According to the association's president, said this scheme was aimed at the underemployed. Now, what's your opinion on this?
I believe it was a great collaboration between both parties to support the health authorities during such challenging times. I know how we all know the COVID tracing team are inundated with the amount of calls and follow-ups they have to do. So to come up with this idea and to use employees from the hospitality industry was a fantastic idea. We have individuals who have these soft skills that have been trained to approach and deal with people, and to have them just sit at home and to be not working, at least they have a purpose that they can be part of this and show solidarity with everyone else that's going through this. On top of this, they are making, I believe, an hourly rate above the wage supplement for extra hours that they do. And it's also a wonderful thing for employers to know that their workforce is not going to be idle all this time, but they are going to be reporting to work and feeling that they can be used for something.
Are ISG employees doing this, or?
At this point in time, we do have all of the workforce working at the moment on full-time reduced hours. So we have nobody idle at this time.
Marvic, this pandemic has destroyed what we considered normal on so many levels and is forcing us to think out of the box. Maybe this is a good thing and we can begin to look at things from a different perspective and angles. What changes, if any, have you had to introduce?
As I said before, we did keep all our employees in the workforce. So it was quite a rather challenge for us during the COVID. We had people working from the office, people working from home. So we did try and face the day-to-day problems. To be honest, we did think outside the box, where we even ventured into other areas, but we also took this time to try and create different levels of strategy for the company. We have even introduced more training for our employees, so that hopefully when the company is back on its feet and the hotel industry and we're back into force, we will have even all our employees trained. So this is more of an important aspect for us, because having our employees trained, it would mean that we are giving a better service to our customers.
Marijana, if I can back to you. In May, when the government launched its e-learning training scheme for the tourism industry, and we now know that some 8,000 people took these courses. The tourism minister at the time said that, and I quote, "After COVID, there will be changes to life and working patterns and behaviors. And so our workforce has to be reskilled and retrained to adapt to such changes," unquote. Now, firstly, have any ISG employees enrolled for these courses? And have you seen any changes in working patterns and behavior, as the minister prophesied?
So during this time, we knew that people were anxious. And I have this saying that I like to use, an antidote to our anxious times is to have a learning mindset, just to keep you distracted and focus on rebuilding your skills and focus on how you can benefit from this time. We did heavily promote the classes, and we have quite a bit of individuals who have signed up for courses either related to their current role in place or to check out different disciplinaries that they wish to try out, just in case they might be of interest in something else, which has motivated them to have a continuous learning mind and to come out of their comfort zone.
I hear that. Thanks. Pierre, I mean, given what the minister said about working patterns and behaviors, has the curriculum changed at ITS? I know you touched on new courses, but are you teaching things that you didn't in the past because of the pandemic, as opposed to sort of introducing new courses? Put it another way, how do you foresee the new normal?
Yeah, I actually tend to agree with the minister, but changes in the work patterns and behaviors have, especially in our industry, have been changing along the years. Maybe COVID will amplify these changes, but our industry is a very dynamic one. And to be honest, if we stop reinventing ourselves, we will lose our competitiveness as a country, I'm saying. And this is across the board in terms of attracting tourists to our island, as well as when it comes to attracting human capital. So I tend to look at it from both angles. because as an industry, we need to make sure that we attract the best possible employees. And that will eventually result in attracting more quality tourists at the end of the day. And it seems that there is a consensus that although we need the numbers as a country, but because to sustain all the businesses that we have, but we also, I think it's the right time that we start thinking about also started increasing that sector of the tourism market, that the quality side of the sector.
So upping the quality is basically what you're saying.
Yes, we constantly change our curricula. Courses are updated yearly. This is being done in consultation with the industry, as well as through research by our academic staff, obviously. And to be honest, we do this because if we don't do so, we end up with outdated courses which are useless. So it's, that's my
evolution you're talking about. Okay. Roberto, on Monday, Health Minister Chris Fern said we could expect a vaccine in Q1 of 2021. And assuming and hoping he's right, and we see a return to our old normal, what do you think will be the customers' expectations from our hospitality workers? And the flip side is, what do you think will be the workers' expectations from guests? What will we expect that's different?
Returning to the old normal, in my opinion, it will take quite some time. The customer behavior has definitely had an impact with the COVID pandemic. So even when it comes to the tourists, their behavior in booking holidays and traveling will change and is changing. Changes has been also occurring prior to COVID. So the travel industry has been seeing customers who are more climate oriented in the terms of also environmental. You have travelers who would be seeking information from hotels on what kind of environmental policies they have within the hotel, and also, for example, just to give an example, what's the company policy in terms of single-use plastic? So there as well, we have a shift which needs to come, and the change which needs to come not only from the workers in the industry, but also from the leaders in the industry to adjust and adapt to the new realities, to the travelers' reality. I think innovation is extremely important. It's extremely important that the further investment is done also on the digitalization aspect. Let's look at what happened during even the pandemic. I mean, there has been a number of mobile applications coming into effect with services in the sector as well, like takeaway. If we're talking about the transportation, also digitalization of the process. This has helped the either the commuter, either the customer in being more close to the service. I mean, the service has become very close. Actually, it's the other way around. The other way around. The service has come closer to the customer. And when we will be going back to the normal, the expectation of the customer would be that the service is even better now. From an F&B perspective, I remember, and I'll try to take you a little bit back in time, when the Life is Beautiful came out, the movie La Vita Bella. Roberto's Benigni role as a waiter, as a server, wasn't just to serve you the food, but it was all about being a gentleman. So this kind of approach towards our guests has to be in that direction. It's also about the guest centricity that we provide. As a nation, I would say, not just as an industry. It's important to have excellent and quality people in the hotel, but then going out and our guests are faced with situations out of the hotel that wouldn't be pleasant. I mean, it's not just so. It's quite a holistic approach that we have to look into. I mean, each and every hotelier, each and every restaurant, probably they give the necessary training. You have employers who invest in the quality of the service that they provide. But I think there needs to be a greater effort nationwide in these terms, because the clients, they would expect better from us in the future.
So bottom line is what Pierre was also saying, you know, we have to up the quality overall. And a final question, you know, Marvic, you know, we all hope we get back to normal as soon as possible. But, you know, as we've heard, the reality, you know, is going to take 2-3 years, you know, to get to where we were. And I suspect, you know, many expat employees will have been furloughed or dismissed until such time as we get back to normal, you know, 3 years. So how easy or otherwise is it going to be to and bring back these foreign workers? Will we need expatriate workers then?
So let me start from the second question, where you asked if we still need the expat workers. Yes, we do still need expat workers. They are still emailing us in our career. They even call us, even from abroad, to see if there is work here in Malta and if they can come over. So due to the high unemployment that there is in various countries, I am pretty sure that foreigners would still want to come and work here once they see that Malta has picked up back with its tourism and with other working industries, gaming. So I am pretty sure that we will not have this problem.
Thank you. Anyway, I'm looking at the time. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for today. May I thank you very much for your participation and for sharing your thoughts and views at this Horeca webinar. The proceedings of this webinar will surely be available on our social media pages and, of course, our website. Our next webinar is also an indirect result of the pandemic. We will be looking at the upsurge in food deliveries since the outbreak of the coronavirus. Now, we've also got an online survey about food deliveries. So if you can take a look at this and perhaps, you know, fill it, the survey, we'd appreciate that. So join us again on Wednesday, the 18th. And then until then, stay safe. Again, thank you very much for your participation. It's much appreciated for your time. And apologies for the slight technical issues we had earlier on. Thank you very much, one and all. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.